Okay, welcome to the Deep Stone Podcast. Thank you to all the listeners that have stuck by us through this very interesting time that we're living in. Uh, Today is a special, kind of unscheduled episode. I reached out to Aoterra about doing a interview about the world's first run that they just did, and firstly, I think it's very important that I thank Kate Harbert, one of our listeners and sometimes a member of the podcast, for originally reaching out to you guys about this. I honestly didn't think that you guys would want to do it, not because like you're like mean or anything. I just didn't think you'd want to like come on this podcast because we're not the biggest one yet. We're working on it, but I'm really glad that you guys did. I mean, that's really amazing. So like, you know. Big thanks.
Hard to decline with a name like that.
Yeah.
All too fitting.
I definitely think it makes sense. But let's just jump right into it. Firstly, one of the most important questions that we always have to ask new members of the podcast, new guests. How did you guys get into Destiny? Like, how did that happen for you guys? Whatever wants to go first.
For me, one of my friends in real life, he bought me the game as a birthday gift, and got into raiding, and he sort of fell off the game, played other things, and I got involved in the wonderful community here, and I just kept playing, and eventually I sunk a couple thousand hours of my life into it.
Oh yeah, too many thousand hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. How about you? How did that go for you? How did you get into it? Can't tell who's talking. That's the thing. I can't tell.
That was Soto just talking.
Yeah. All right. How did you get?
I got into it. I saw it in a store. I had a gift card for some tech store, and I saw it on sale, like right by the entrance. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll buy Destiny." Mm-hmm. So I bought that, and I played it a while because I had a Xbox 360, so I just played on that until basically, it stopped getting updates.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit the game from there, and then I got back into it because I saw like some viral videos about speedrunning Destiny 1. So I got really into watching, all that new content. And then when Destiny 2 was released for PC, I just bought a PC. Mm-hmm. So I got into that and just grinded away at that. Played way too many hours and got here.
That's a gift card. That's interesting.
Yep.
But that's good. That's great. I've been very vocal that like I'm not one of those guys that was like D1 alpha, loyal to the game. Like I played the alpha. I was like, this looks cool. And then the game came out and it was kind of bare bones for the first like while. So I kind of walked away for a while, came back, Taken King, stuck around. I just looked up my hours, and I'm in the top 1% in the world in hours, apparently. I don't know how in D2, and I don't know how that happened. I'm not on your guys' level, so I'm a little disappointed in myself. But, everybody comes to this game through different methods and different ways, and it's really interesting to see how people do that, especially guys that you're the world's first for this raid. Like, that's incredible. So,
crazy.
How did you guys go about starting your clan? Like, how did that happen?
Me and Tara like played a lot together. We met each other pretty early on.
I'm in a strike.
Yeah, we're both from New Zealand, so obviously the connection matchmaking kind of at some point we would have met. But
we were bound to match into each other. We added each other because we saw that each other was pretty good at the game. So
just kept playing together until eventually
strikes, speedruns together, and then we started a clan. I don't know. How did it start, Soto?
So we were sort of in separate clans for a while. Then there was kind of like a bigger clan that were a PvP clan who wanted to branch out into like a PvE kind of side of their clan. Yep. And
so they decided to contact us basically, or we had a friend in the clan that saw that we were, a PvE team that was sort of split clans. So we were looking for the opportunity to, be all in the same clan. So
and then from there, kind of we split off from them after a while, and then
changed names 4 times, and added members, lost members, and whatnot. Yeah, to get to Luminous. It's been a year, right? Over a year.
2 years, I think. Sort of formed.
Really?
It formed late Forsaken, I believe, and yeah, I think that would be 2 years from now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Black Armory was under Luminous, so yeah.
Really?
Long time.
Wow. Yeah, that is a pretty long time, actually. Now, let's talk about your preparations for this world's first run. Like, what was your process? What did you guys do to get yourselves absolutely to the best method that you could to get yourselves in the best position to attempt this run?
Well, across our team,
start off,
very widely.
We didn't have the best preparation. Like me, Shenzi, I think Soto, you bounty prepped, right? Claude, bounty prepped a little.
Character.
Yeah, some of us went really hard on like the bounty prep and all the exotic engram, postmaster, whatever, all that hardcore stuff. And then other people we just didn't, and we were like, yeah, we'll get to 12:30 by the raid, and pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've seen a lot of people do. I mean, we saw in past raids that people went crazy until they fixed like certain bounties and stuff like that. Their prep would be months.
I was almost max light cap for Scourge at day 1.
Yeah, actually.
So some of my teammates, it was just insane how much more damage you did when it was no contest.
Yeah, actually, our teammate Shenzi was one of the people who I think hit 650 on almost the first day of Black Armory or something, or second or third day, I can't remember. But he's always every DLC he is always grinding to the max light as soon as possible.
That's a defining feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the thing. Some people in this game, they can just dive right in, and it also comes down to your RNG luck. Some people just
a little bit, but
yeah, a lot of the prep we do, we basically prep because we're worried about RNG. Like it's we always look back and it's like, RNG wasn't too bad this time. Probably could have done a little bit less prep, but we keep going at it.
Yeah, you can't take a risk about bad RNG and you're screwed. Now, when you jumped into the raid, did you be honest? Did you actually think you had a chance at getting worlds first, or did you go into it just going like, if we do, we do, whatever? Or was your goal like, we have to get worlds first? Like, what was your mindset going into it?
I think it was kind of chill. I don't think we didn't expect to get worlds first. It's not like we were going in there with that kind of mindset. We were just kind of going to go.
Yeah.
Yep. Sweet. A lot of our previous attempts, we've been very sort of focused on it, and we've placed decently well in most of them. But this time we had a slight change in our team, and we were kind of just we just want to go in day 1, enjoy ourselves, and get as good of a placing as we can.
Much.
Yeah, it's a good mindset to have. I mean, what was this change you made in your team, and why?
One of our clan mates, obviously we last ran Garden with them, and during, I think it was around Season of Worthy, there was quite a lull in the content for the game, and a few of us were taking sort of a break, whereas he kept going hard, and he wanted to have a group of people around him who kept playing really hardcore pretty much every day. So he went off and split off and made
I think it was in Dawn, maybe.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Speed runs, and he was not into doing that anymore. He wanted to focus on what he wanted to, which is perfectly fair. So he left and started his own clan, pretty much.
Yep.
So who did you replace him with?
Shenzi. Shenzi was that.
Shenzi.
I mean, that's
Shenzi, because good option for a day 1 is the guy who's always highest light. He would always be on and grinding.
Yeah, right. And Shenzi's done really well in previous raid
he's
races
placed
as well.
really highly in all the other ones.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty good replacement. It's almost like it was meant to happen. So you guys got luck was going your way. RNG was going your way on that. So let's get to the so what is your main class, each of you? This is a very important question we always ask on the podcast. What is your main class and why? Let's start with Soto.
Warlock, because it's the sorry.
It doesn't matter what we say.
I go Soto.
I always say Warlock because that's the class I played first, and it's definitely the class I play the most because of speedruns. But definitely these past few seasons, I've been really enjoying Hunter and builds like 1-2 punch and things like that.
Smart man, smart man. What about you,
I
Ao?
thought Warlock in this time, so
Warlock.
Yeah, Warlock for me because I always wanted to do like the best thing, like the most optimal, the most fastest, and the highest, so whatever, the most utility, which is just always been Warlock pretty much. Well, it was Titan. I started off as a filthy Titan main back when Titan skating
Yeah,
on
back
PC was
in
the thing, and I did that when they nerfed that, and they brought in World Lion, and I got really into that as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I understand, because of the speed runs, why you guys would run Warlock a lot, but let's remember that sane people run Hunters. Just saying. I'm just. But, okay. Now, talk to me about your thoughts on the raid. Let's start before we I don't want to get too broad. We can talk about loot. We can talk about design. We can talk about all that. But first, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on the mechanics of the raid. What do you guys think about it? What were your opinions on that?
I really loved it. One of my favorite raids in this game up until this one was Spire of Stars, and every moment of the raid I was in there, I really felt like it was another experience like that. There was a lot of just coordination. You had to be very dynamic. Like
everyone has a certain role they have to perform.
And everyone has a role, but the mechanics constantly forced you to swap with people and take on roles that you didn't you have to start on or whatever. So it's very dynamic, and that reminded me a lot of that. So I love the mechanics.
Mechanics, they're amazing.
Right. What about you, Ao?
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. I love them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a raid a lot of people would be like when you say Spire Stars, but I actually really like that raid. I mean, the lore for that raid's really good. Maybe the loot wasn't great, but the way that raid worked, I've always been a strong proponent of copying the way Wrath of the Machine worked, where you're doing stuff, you're constantly doing stuff. You're never just standing pat, just shoot this thing, move here, shoot this thing, move here. You're always doing something, and I think that's a really good way to engage the player, but it's a good way to let the designers mess around and be screw it, let's do something crazy. I remember the Siege Machine and Wrath of the Machine, and then you have to blow it up, and then you have to rebuild it, and then you have to you have to make sure you don't get crushed by it when it falls off a cliff and whatnot. And the passing off of different effects and stuff is really great because it's not so impossible that not everybody can learn it. If you just put in the time, anybody can learn it. Spire of Stars was hard, but anybody could learn that raid if they put in enough time,
Yep.
But I think it's also important that the loot matches the time you put in. Spire of Stars suffered because the loot wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But
a lot of us, we obviously, prior to this raid, not a lot of raids have been farmable. In fact, none before they announced sunsetting. So we were always playing raids for the experience of it, and we would play it multiple times a week, even though we weren't getting loot. So obviously, I'd rank Spire higher than other people since loot didn't matter to me or whatever.
Right.
And one thing I saw in Spire, and I see it in a lot of raids that Bungie does a really good job of, is they really build up the mechanics of an encounter. They start introducing you off to in this raid, it was the 2 buffs, Scanner and Operator. And then at the third encounter, I think the difficulty for third encounter actually went down compared to second. But they introduce a new buff and get you used to that before the boss fight, which is something they did in Spire as well. They introduce you to the basic mechanics and then layer stuff on top of it for the boss fight.
Right.
Just great.
And it's not unlike Crown of Sorrow in the sense of they introduce the way the raid's going to work at the beginning, and then by the end of the raid, you're balancing it all out. But by then, you should already be used to it. Everybody has poems about Crown of Sorrow, but yeah, the same sort of design philosophy, and it kind of sounds like they're keeping with that because Crown of Sorrow did that, Scourge of the Past did that, Last Wish did that.
Yep.
Last Wish was incredible. I don't think anybody can do the fact that Last Wish is definitely one of the strongest raids they've ever done. But
Absolutely.
I do think as more people play this raid, I do think that this is going to go down as one of the better raids they've ever done. I just think this raid gets everything right. I mean, we gave our thoughts about it on a previous episode already, but the look of the raid, the sound of the raid, the loot of the raid, the scenario that's going on in the raid, story wise, the mechanics of the raid, I feel like everything they did was like A plus,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to ask you guys. What are anything about this raid so far that you don't like or that you're just not that crazy about?
That's it's a really hard question. Like
it's a hard question.
It's hard
There's
to
not a lot that's bad about
this.
this.
It's not a lot we don't like.
It's a really solid raid. Like on day one, on the second encounter, the first boss, Atrax, there was a lot of downtime. Like in between phases, you would do the four DPS phases, and then you would just sit and wait. I think that's like the worst part of the day one was just that. But like that's a pretty minor thing.
I think I know what I don't like. It's the entrance. I get lost every time. Every
Yeah.
time I go back in there, I get lost.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of people got mad because they loaded in and they were like, "What the hell is this?" And then they figured it out and they were like, "Oh, okay, great." Like, but yeah, I think that's what I've heard a lot in the community is that people they think the entrance to the raid is just weird. They're just like, why is it? It's so random.
It's certainly a lot longer than any other entrance to a raid, I think. Like normally you sort of jump in there and you're straight into first encounter, whereas this one has
like
quite
3 minutes until you get to a spawning restricted zone if you're going like really, really fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely like that they brought back the idea of cutscenes when you go into a raid. I really like that. It sets the tone.
And the voice lines in the raid.
Exactly. I think these are very important things that I think should be carried over into raids from now on. It's just having, I asked on the last podcast episode we did, do you guys remember in Destiny 1 when you would be flying into a strike and Zavala or whatever would narrate and set the tone for the strike? So
I never played D1, so I have to leave this for Terra.
We wanted it or not.
Yeah. But I miss that because I think if they did that for raids, it would really set the tone. If you're loading Deepstone Crypt and like the Exo Stranger is giving you an intro and then you have the cutscene and she's talking to you about like, all right, descend into the crypt and end this once and for all or whatever the hell. I think that would really set the tone, especially for those of us who love story in whatever sense we can get. That would really help.
Sure. I'm not that much into the story, but that sounds like something we definitely do.
And I don't think that people that aren't crazy about the story or whatever, that doesn't impact them. So it's not like it's going to get in the way or anything.
Exactly.
No. So let's move over onto the loot, armor and weapons. You are Warlock mains. I'm a Hunter main. So, I was paying attention to that mostly, but what are your thoughts on the loot, from the perks to the visualization, whatnot. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I would love to hear what you guys think.
So I still haven't got a full set of armor on any of my characters, so I can't really make a full judgment on that, but it looks pretty good.
Right. Yeah, definitely different. It looks different.
Yeah.
And in terms of the guns and perks, really, really excited for these. They're such good,
they're really
unique
cool
perks.
But they all start with the letter R for some reason.
We always mix
recombination, reconstruction, and there's another one that starts with R.
We keep mixing them up, but
it's R and
they're
R.
really, really nice perks. Just that really make those weapons desirable above all others. So
I've been hearing a lot of good things about the sniper rifle.
The shotgun is
sniper
possibly
rifle,
the best in the game at the moment.
Yeah, slug shotguns are one of the best DPS options in the game. So the new slug shotgun from the raid is just really, really good.
Well, when it comes to that, which weapons have you guys gotten so far?
I'm pretty sure I've gotten all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got all of them. I know the LMG is
the shotgun.
The LMG is a really good hammerhead replacement from what I've heard, and I've basically been spending all of my spoils of war on raid shotguns just for better rolls.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I've been hearing a lot of good things about that. I haven't heard anything good about the hand cannon yet, or anything like that. I mean, I'm a little surprised that there's not a single void hand cannon in the game. But
I heard it can get 39 in the mag, which is unique.
That
is very unique.
But yeah, 180 hand cannons have always been kind of a weird pick in Destiny. There's been times where they've been like just straight up the best gun and slot in cases, but they've always just been slept on because they're 180s. I think Trust was a really good pick for a while. I can't remember how many seasons ago. Yeah. But
and then Not Forgotten was, if you ever wanted to use it in PvP, PvE, it was really good damage because you could just stack the perk on the same target and just you get double damage.
Yeah.
Closest thing we had to like a primary made for killing orange bars.
Yeah, pretty much.
Until Recluse.
So are there any specific weapons besides the shotgun that you're excited for that you haven't gotten yet? Or I
think I've got every weapon from the raid so far. I'm not entirely sure. It'll probably come down to like niche situations where I want to use like a hand cannon for a very specific purpose. Like if I'm not sure if it's actually a mod in the artifact this season, but for Overload or whatever, or Unstoppable.
I think it's Unstoppable this season. Yeah.
If I need like an unstoppable hand cannon that's also void for like the correct shields and like a strike or whatever for match game, then obviously I'll turn to that one as my priority. But the shotgun is really the one weapon that shines above like the rest, I think.
Yeah, that's
guns are really only exciting when they're basically best in slot or the best for the job that they do. And the shotgun's definitely that, but I'm not sure about everything else.
Right. Yeah.
Really got to see what the others get used for before we can make a call.
Right. I mean, did you get good rolls on your weapons that you guys got?
Yeah, we
for shotguns.
Got a pretty good roll. Shotgun. It's not the best roll, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
What about the stat rolls on your armor? Did you get good stat rolls? Because I remember, like, back in the day, like, some of the armor from the raids would get terrible stat rolls, and you'd be, like, dumbfounded as to, like, why.
Yep. I think a few of the pieces I've picked up have all been pretty high resilience, which, as a warlock is not the stat I'm looking for, so I haven't really had great rolls from it, but in general, raid armor does just sort of roll with highest stat totals, so, or at least I think it used to.
I think raid armor is better now than it was. I'm getting some pretty good rolls on mine.
Right. Now,
just gotta wait for the god roll.
So, when did you ever feel during the raid that you had did you ever feel as a clan, like as a team, that you were like, oh, we might actually get this, like we might actually get the world's first? Like, was there a point in the raid where you felt that, or that you knew was going to happen? So
the first time that we sort of like understood where we were position wise was leaving second encounter. One of our friends had told us that Gigs was the only team who beat it, and I think Slayer had just beat it right before us as well. So we knew we were in like really good standing if we were only like a few minutes behind Gigs and pretty much on par with Slayer as far as we can tell. We really thought, oh, we're actually in a really good spot right now. It's going well, obviously. Leaving third encounter, we were told that we were just behind Slayer at that point. So we were starting to get a little bit excited, but obviously the boss has been kind of make or break for us in the past, like in attempts. So we didn't want to like get overhyped, and it wasn't, for me at least, it really wasn't until that last damage phase, right before we got it,
definitely,
that I was like, holy shit, we might actually get this.
Right, and that's why people got pissed. But you skipped the cutscene.
Yeah,
like, we don't care. We need to get this.
It's Bungie's API is a bit of a mystery. We're never sure if like just leaving the activity is enough, or if we need to actually get back to the orbit screen or whatever. So I was like, I didn't want to skip the cutscene at first because I was like, I really want to see this. I'm really happy to clear this or whatever. But then I thought, what if another team finishes before, like, not before us, like right after us, and then skips it? So I was like, I need to skip it. And thankfully we got to see it again when we loaded in on our characters, which was great. So
Yeah,
didn't miss out
that
completely.
Stream was going crazy. They were like, "Why would you skip the cutscene?" Oh my. Yeah, no, I mean, I remember it was it was crazy when you guys were about to get it, and like everybody was like, "Oh my god, are they actually gonna get it? Oh my god, it's so close!" I remember, unfortunately, rip Asdacross, but Asdacross's team could not get past Atrax, no matter what they did. They just couldn't get the damage they needed at the end. And did you guys encounter similar problems in your run on Atrax? Because I know a lot of teams were struggling.
On Atrax, we were obviously like our first few attempts, we were just figuring out mechanics, figuring out a strategy to combat it, and I think on like I don't know, maybe a second or third attempt after we'd figured out the mechanics, we got a run that went all the way through to the enrage phase.
We did
we still had like a third of his health left.
Phases.
But I had been constantly damaging the boss even after we'd like tackled the mechanics. So we had obviously you break his shield to stop his wipe, and then you can keep doing damage. We weren't all doing that, so when we got to the wipe screen, I saw I had like twice as much damage as everyone else, and it was counting. So we immediately knew we just had to do what we just did, but continue damaging after each mechanic that we successfully pulled off. And so it gave us a lot of confidence for that encounter, and definitely motivated us because we knew we were capable of pulling it all together and getting it all going.
For you guys to fit like that, you knew like we can do this, we can actually get this done, like we can actually get this world's first. Like, was that the moment where you guys were like that was the catalyst as a team that you really like came all in and you were just like, yeah, we got this? Like,
I wouldn't say it was
like focus on just completing the raid. We weren't like, you shouldn't worry too much about your placement during the raid, because that can easily distract you and get your, I don't know. Yeah.
It can like really psych you out if you are thinking too hard about like, oh, this many people have done it before us. This many people are going to be at the next boss or whatever. We've got this much ground to make up. So we really didn't think about that.
Don't think about that. You just think about completing the encounter that you're at, just doing you basically.
Yeah. Right. It was just once each encounter was over, someone would let us know like how we were standing, and that obviously kept us calm during the encounters and didn't distract us. And then once we were out of the encounters, it was like, okay, we know where we are. Let's just keep going. We're going strong.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's good advice for any up and coming clans that are planning to do a world's first run. Like, don't get lost in the sauce, basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Worry about yourself, not the other teams. Yeah. Because I definitely see that. I think most people, they struggled a lot on Atrax. Like, once they got to the other encounters, they weren't doing nearly as bad. But I think a lot of teams were having serious trouble on Atrax, especially trying to get that last damage in.
Yeah, there's actually an issue with like it's I think it's with all sources of damage, but it was especially noticeable with swords. But if you're dealing damage to the boss right as he's leaving, it'll kind of undo that damage. And because the general role people use for swords is something like Whirlwind Blade or whatever, your damage kind of ramps up the longer you're attacking a target. And so right at the end is where most of your damage comes in. And so for a lot of people, they were seeing their health bar just rubber band back up like almost a third of what damage they'd dealt, just because all of the damage was like loaded on the very end of their attack. And so he was teleporting out of the arena since he was leaving. And I think it's probably to do with like he's already left server side or whatever, but you're still damaging him on your screen or whatever.
Desync stuff.
And we use especially noticeable.
Like,
you go ahead, too. I was gonna say it's especially noticeable now with Lament. Like, you just see it teleport almost like a third of like his health bar at times, because all of your damage is in that last right click.
Right.
But yeah, as Tara was saying, we were using Xenophage, which is a very sort of flat damage curve. You're dealing very constant damage, so it was only like rubber banding a small amount for us.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely help. But the ammo for Xenophage, because you're using like a lot of shots, like 6 or 7 shots per damage phase, and it only holds like about 28 when you rally. So getting heavy ammo drops and like heavy ammo in that encounter was really scarce for us. We definitely saw a lot of damage in the first like 4 phases, and then in the last 2 it was like another lot because everyone ran out of ammo.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And you know, it's very interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to have a big opinion about the final boss, especially who it is. So, what were your guys' thoughts on that? Now, I know you guys aren't like the biggest lore guys and whatnot, and this isn't like the Guardians of Lore podcast or whatnot. But what was your guys' thoughts on that? I think that was quite a surprise for that to be the final boss.
I
So did you know Tanix was a D1 boss?
Right.
No, I didn't. Well, I knew like he was a character, but I've never played D1. I only knew like he was somebody because like people tell me.
Right.
So
you weren't there in the glory days of Tanix?
No, sadly, I was not. But
I never got around to that because it was non-match made, right? When you did it in Prison of Elders, so
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends back then, so I only did the match made ones.
That's Skolas. I know Tanix.
Skolas, different one.
Tanix was
close enough.
Part of something else. I mean, everyone's gonna kill me now in the comments because I can't remember. It's so long ago. I don't know.
I think people have told me he was like in a strike. He was in.
Oh yeah.
Like he had like 2 strikes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he was. I believe he was House of Wolves. That's way back when.
Oh right. Yeah.
And then he dies in Shadow Thief, and then he comes back in Rise of Iron.
He comes back as a Taken in the Whisper of the not the Whisper. It's called something different in Destiny 1, but it was the exotic special sniper that did the same thing.
Well, yeah, you're thinking about oh my God, everyone's gonna rip us apart in the
Whisper,
like Spindle.
Whisper Black. Yes.
Yeah.
How does Soto know? He didn't even play the game. Wow.
So he was the boss from House of Wolves. You fight him in the Shadow Thief strike. There's a version of the Taken strike where you can kill a bunch of Taken in about, was it 2 minutes or something like that, or something like that.
10 minutes for the full mission, then you kill the boss.
Yeah, to get Black.
You get the Black Spindle,
and then he comes back.
Did he come back as a nightmare in Shadowkeep?
Yes, he came back in Rise of Iron as Siva. Then you kill him again. Oh. Then he comes back as a nightmare, and you kill him again. And then he comes back.
And then he comes. Oh my God! How many times are going to keep bringing one boss back?
So that's the thing. I guess
is he dead for real now?
He's persistent.
How did he even come back this time?
That's a question I asked last episode. Nobody really knows yet. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't in the raid, so I couldn't really see him. But like, I don't know if he was an Exo. Because I know Atrax was a Fallen, and she converted into an Exo. So I don't know if they converted him into an Exo, maybe. But
he got fused with a shank. He came back normally though. In the third encounter, he's just like standing around there normally shooting his hand cannon, scorch cannon.
Well, he was what? Tanix perfected, right? Something like that, or Tanix.
No, it's Tanix reborn.
Yeah,
that's so maybe he's like a clone because it was the replication facility. It was the previous encounter.
I think maybe he was an Exo. I mean, I'm sure Bife
clone from DNA or an Exo that looks really good. I don't know.
Definitely a question for Bife on Mylan games.
Yeah,
they're gonna have a video about this by the end of the week, probably.
Mylan, yeah, we should ask him.
But what were your thoughts on like? I know, like, not lore-wise, but what were your thoughts on the final boss fight? Like, especially after the crash, when he comes back as a shank and you have to do all that. What were your thoughts on that? A lot of people really like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I was saying the opening encounter, you go through that room, and then you just crash back down into that room again. It's pretty.
You immediately sort of recognize it, even though it's not a place you've like explored much. But
yeah.
I thought it was really interesting. I haven't played like a lot of Destiny raids where the boss room is like so asymmetric. Like it felt like all the objectives are really sort of tightly clustered in 2 corners, and then there was one corner that was a lot further off than everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it really felt that because it was like more open. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably was farther off.
But it played like it was a lot of fun to play, and it was just enjoyable putting all the mechanics that we'd learned from the previous encounter like to use.
And man, that final stand is just, I love it.
Yep.
He just teleports around the room. He's got like a tiny bit of health left. He's always still damageable. There's no more mechanics. It's just you have to kill him.
Yeah.
It's just so...
It's definitely like super engaging and super like, where is he going? Oh God, stop moving! Just stop moving! Like, you know, you're like trying desperately. The times, you guys, I'm sure the time was going through your head where you're like, we just need to kill him. We just need to kill him. He won't stop moving. Like, I'm sure, was that going through your head at all? Even a little bit?
Yeah. It was just, as soon as we noticed he was damageable, because we had a failed attempt right before our successful one where we got him to final stand. And as soon as we saw he was damageable, we were just immediately like, okay, we've just got to follow him around the room, keep damaging. But in the end, like in that attempt, we were out of ammo. And so Terra immediately made the call and said, I'm not going to use my super during that final fight. I'm just going to go get finishers or whatever, or something like that. Just get orbs off someone, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Healing grenades. Just because I wasn't going to use Phoenix, I was using Phoenix the rest of the raid to get my well back. But since I wasn't using my well, I switched to double healing grenades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, you got. I think your team showed a really good way of like working together and changing it up on the fly to get it done. Mm-hmm. You know, you guys were constantly switching up your strategy and the way you were fighting and playing so that you could figure out a way to finish them off. And I think that was really interesting and really fun to watch, because some teams can get stuck in their method and then that can hold them back really badly. But you guys, you have no qualms with changing it up or admitting you might be wrong about something or being like, okay, this isn't working for me, but maybe I'll try this. Like, you know,
that was I think one of us thinks. Yeah.
That was something I like brought up before the raid, is that most of the times when we've had a disappointing result, it's always been that we stuck with a strategy that wasn't most optimal for us. Like it definitely worked for other teams, but for us, it might not have fit. And so sticking with that really caused us harm in the long run and meant we had to spend a lot longer trying to adapt ourselves to the strategy than the other way around. And so this time we went in with the attitude that we should try everything and find something that's good for us, and it definitely worked out.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone was having troubles with basically the DPS phase on final boss. Right. Is that where we were hearing from other teams was like they couldn't do a lot of damage, we couldn't do a lot of damage, we couldn't figure it out. So we just basically tried everything. We tried even like Wardcliff coil, rockets, stuff like that, and then I think closer just a double snipers or Izanagi's and a legendary sniper, because then you can just use whatever sword or an LMG and you should be fine for ad clear, since there weren't that many ads.
So for those who didn't watch your stream, what was the method you guys figured out to finally kill him?
So we had one player on Divinity and everyone else on Izanagi's and a legendary sniper. And what you do is you use your Izanagi's, you ×4, and then when you're reloading the ×4, you can kind of cancel that animation, swap to your other sniper, mix in a few shots from that, and then go back to your Izanagi's. And so you're constantly just swapping between the two, and that really like is the important part of the strategy, is making the most use of the time you have to deal damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, and it showed. It clearly showed. I mean, it was a radical difference for you guys. But the way you had to play with that loadout was really funny.
Yeah. You really have to be gung-ho about the ads, like when you're playing like that.
Just spawn killing the doors with like a sword, because if they got out and they would just like beam you down.
Yeah. Now, what was your reaction when Bungie announced your name tag on their Twitter page? How did that feel?
A lot of
unreal. It's just unreal.
Mm-hmm. We saw the announcement right after we finished that a team had finished, and everyone was, saying it was us, and we were fairly sure it was us, but there was still that little bit of doubt in our minds. So the next day when the announcement was made, it was just so much relief, so happy. It was like unreal.
It's real.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like at the point for you guys where you don't even have words to describe, because you're just like, is this real? Is it happening? That was incredible. And I mean, like, I think it was really fantastic for the community that a team of like people from New Zealand and whatnot did it. Like that's really awesome. Like, you know, it came out of nowhere and it was great. I mean, I know at one point there was a German clan that was leading. Like, I think this world showed that, you know, anybody can do it, you know, and like it was really like incredible and almost like motivating for like your clan to do it, you know, because you guys aren't, you know, like the typical ones that, you know, people would obviously think of. Like they'd be like, oh, probably Glad or Dado or Azcross or whatever. But your clan came in and you just got it done. And you were really, really efficient. You know, you guys didn't get into arguments. You guys didn't really have any of those issues. So, you know, it was really great for the community to see you guys do it in such a positive manner. And like, yes, you had to skip a cutscene, but, you know, so that's the really good thing, you know, and, you know, how'd you guys celebrate in this crisis that we're in? How did you guys celebrate your win?
Man, it was. I think I'm not sure if we like had like a proper celebration. We just kind of kept
right after the thing. It wasn't official, right? So we just like we're just waiting in limbo, but we're really excited because we think we got it. And when the announcement was coming, we were like, "Good shit, boys, we did it."
Yeah.
Right. And you guys don't live near each other, but you guys are in New Zealand, correct?
No, we do. We live pretty close.
We're in the same city, but
really?
Recluses, live in our houses.
When the crisis gets a little bit better, the two of you or whatnot you guys gonna have like a celebratory whatnot or whatever to celebrate your win?
I mean, New Zealand's probably pretty much chill. We're not in lockdown or anything right now, so we probably could go out for a drink tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a lockdown here in the United States. California just went back into like curfew, but yeah, I mean, you know, that's fantastic that you guys can actually meet up and actually celebrate your. But you know, so describe.
I was just gonna say it's a shame that like there's no sort of like international events that are happening at the moment, because it would have been great to be able to, you know, meet up with the rest of the team, because I think we've got 3 Americans and a German who, I'd love to be able to meet and, you know, have a beer with.
I mean, you know, the next Guardian Con, whenever it does end up happening at some point soon, but you know, when it ever happens, you know, I'm sure you guys are going to be prepared to, you know, it'll be late, but you know, hey, celebration's a celebration, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, that's the thing. It's really unfortunate because I know that if the Guardian Con had been happening this year, I definitely would have met up with some of my clanmates, and you know, and so you just got to work with what you got. But I mean, you know, hey, you guys could always have like a Discord, have a hell of a celebratory drink over Discord with your clanmates and whatnot. So what's next for your clan? What's next for y'all?
Probably just back to speedrunning. Like that's what we did before this, and that's what we'll keep doing.
Are you guys gonna try to go for world's first whenever the next raid ends up coming out?
Definitely give it another shot. Like obviously, we've participated in pretty much every raid race since Crown. As a
clan, yes, Crown.
Yeah.
As this team of 5 plus,
Now, does it? They send a belt to everyone, or
yes, it goes to everyone.
1 belt each. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but
they're gonna ship it to you like 8 months later, and then
something like that.
Yeah, you're gonna put it on display in your house or apartment or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you guys
above my setup? There's a perfect spot for it.
Oh yeah.
I really like the look of the jacket, but it's tough. It's tough. I'm not sure if I can
have money.
You know, can spend on it yet. But there's a month. I'll start saving. I think December 31st is the cutoff date to order it. So I'll definitely make an effort to try and get one, because obviously it means a lot to me. I bought the Wish jacket way back because that was the first time they offered something like that, and I was really happy to clear that week 1.
Right.
So.
I remember I qualified for the Crown of Sorrow one, but taxes, it came out to like $200 something US, and I was like, I cannot afford that. I can't buy that. And
After shipping, it was like 300 here. It was, yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand dollars go crazy, and New Zealand shipping million miles away.
Yeah, that's the crappy thing. Like, I worked my butt off that weekend to finish Count of Sorrow, and then I couldn't even afford to buy the jacket. And I was like, no, why did I even do this? Like, yeah. But any closing thoughts for those of your followers and your viewers that watch you and cheered you on during your run?
I guess I haven't really had like much of a following like before this, but the support that I've like seen and received in the past like couple of days has just been incredible. Like I can honestly say I've never felt like this, supported by just people who have no like relation to me, whatever. They're just nice people and people who are amazing and sending kind words. Like it's unreal. I can't believe it, honestly.
It's just so unreal, insane. The amount of support and the amount of just everything, the amount of thank you messages, and just
Right. Yeah. You guys deserve it. I mean, you guys worked really, really hard and you did a great job. So, it was fantastic that you guys won the title, and, and I'm, we're rooting for you guys to next time to defend your title. I guess thanks from me and the other members of the podcast and Kate. Kate went out of her way to message you guys and set this all up. So big thanks from the podcast for even.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Thanks.
It's been incredible.
It's been great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thanks because it's great to have people like you or Destiny the Meme or Gamma Trap and whatnot to have these people come on the podcast. Because we're not a very big podcast yet. So we just do it because we like it. We don't get paid. We don't make any money off this. We just do it because we love the game. So it's great.
Same reason we play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always inspiring to have people in your position be willing to take time out of their days to come talk to us because you don't have to. And so it's great that you guys do, especially with the time difference. Like we have an insane time difference. So it's really great. And, huge thanks to you guys for it.
Awesome.
No worries, man. Got to share the love around. Share the love.
Yeah. Well, that concludes this wonderful surprise episode of the Deep Stone Podcast. Big thanks to Aoterra and Soto for making the time to come and talk to us about their amazing world's first run for the Deep Stone Crypt. Big congratulations to them and Clan Luminous. Clan Luminous, is that, saying it right?
Yeah. Yep.
Terrible.
That's it.
I haven't been able to speak good English this week. I swear I've been terrible. But big congratulations to you guys. You've earned the respect of the community. You've worked your proverbial asses off. So, relish this, for as long as you can. So, thanks again.
Well, thanks so much for having us. It's been
great
being able to sort of talk about this stuff with you.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for listening to this podcast, and thanks for being our loyal viewers and followers. Have a fantastic night, peoples.